We will continue with the event. The last two. The next performance is going to be very interesting for us Indian classical dancers because it's going to be it's a group called Serendipity. Serendipity is a dance association between Swiss contemporary dancer Messaline Gerstein and Kathak dancer Anvita Pandey. And their curiosity and desire to explore and understand each other's dance forms led to the establishment of this collaborative and creative dance venture. Serendipity aims to create an integrated vocabulary of movements primarily using Kathak and contemporary dance, creating or interpreting stories on diverse themes by diving deeper into the essence of the movements by exploring the sensations, the intention, and the shapes. Anvita Pandey is a Kathak dancer from Lucknow, Haryana. She received her foundational training under Padma Shri Guru Shobhana Narayan in Delhi and now continues her advanced training under tutelage of Guru Sharmila Rao in Paris. Since 2016, Anvita has been practicing, performing, and teaching in Switzerland and around Europe. She also runs a Kathak dance school in Zurich. Messaline Gerstein is a contemporary dancer with a background in Afro-Brazilian and Silvestre technique. Did I pronounce it right? Silvestre technique dance, modern dance, which she studied in Brazil. We'll continue. We are presenting Samyukta Connected.
So, Samyukta or Connected is basically, it's inspired from the Natya shloka of Natya Shastra, which I guess all the Indian classical dancers present here are aware of that. And the way it goes is Yato Hasta, Tato Drishti, Yato Drishti, Tato Manaha, Yato Manaha, Tato Bhavaha, Yato Bhavaha, Tato Rasaha. So it's our take on the interpretation of this shloka. I mean, for the Indian classical dance, we know how much connected we are to this ancient Sanskrit text. But with serendipity through this project, we have taken the philosophy deeper and we have highlighted the synergy of all the physical, mental and emotional elements that helps us to be centered, to be present. And it's not just in professional life or being a dancer, but also in our daily routine. We need to be present, and basically we are not only exploring the concrete meaning of the connection, but also the underlying interpretation. I would like to add that the music for this project is basically it is given by a friend, Nicholas James Aaron, who is a pianist, and with my vocals. And I hope you will like this project. And it's our first time that we are presenting it to an Indian audience. Before that, last year we had the opportunity to present it to a French audience. So I guess I would love to have your feedback afterwards. Thank you very much.
Yato hasta, tato drishti. Yato drishti, tato manaha. Yato manaha, tato bhavaha. Yato bhavaha, tato rasaha. Where the hands are, there goes the sight. Where the sight is, there lies the mind. Where the mind fixes, inner feeling expressed. Where the feelings are, sentiment is evoked. tato drishti takitak tak tato drishti takitak tak tato manaha takitak tak yato manaha takitak tak tato bhavah takitak tak yato bhavah takitak tak tato rasaha takitak tak yato hastam tato drishti yato drishti tato manaha yato manaha tato bhavah yato bhavah tato rasaha takitak tak 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 takitak tak.
Yes, so talking about Samyukt again, as you saw, it was our interpretation. There were a lot of lines, diagonals. Um, so to be able to connect it, to explain how how our research or how we went into the creative process, I would just first like to start. The way Samyukt happened was, one day I was mentioning this shloka to my friend, and she liked it so much. That's where our journey started. Because even though the Western dances, they don't support that, I mean, they don't have so much of text, but they could still connect to the shloka, because even in their dance form, you have to be present. They could really connect to that very well. So yes, I mean, this is again the shloka. I mean, the English translation of this is, where the hand goes, there goes the sight. Where the sight is, there lies the mind. Where the mind fixes, inner feeling is expressed. And where the feelings are, the rasa, or the aesthetic delight, is evoked. And it is experienced by the audience. I will now hand it over to Messaline to explain that. So the concept, the way we understood the shloka, was a synergy of mind, body and soul. And that's how, while creating the choreography, we split into 3 parts.
So, as Anvita explained before, we have started, before starting the creative process, we tried to understand a bit more the shloka, just not like word by word, and not only the process, because it's talking apparently about the process of embodying the dance in every single aspect, but it's also talking about, I mean, we interpreted that as talking about something more spiritual, so we tried to explore those 2 parts. There was one part which was more concrete, so translating every word, like, or every sentence to gesture, and a part which was more abstract, which was more trying to build up through those 3 words or meaning, mind, body, and soul. So now I'm going to explain a bit further how the process went. It was something much more instinctive. So, one more. But it's okay. So we explored those 3 aspects. Mind, by mind, we were meaning that first we started by like a really intellectual process, so analyzing a word or a sentence and transfer it like in the body. But then throughout the process, we noticed that like once we had the gestures, then the body will be able to react to it. So it was an intention for him. So we have a move, like the fact that we are using a move is bringing another shape to the body, and all this process of building up from something really mental to just letting the body experience the thing. And then soul, because we wanted, I think it was then something more global, because you had the music, you had everything, and everything is getting together. And that's why it's a process. We separated this way, but it was a process of back and forth. Sometimes we were more into defining and then going a bit in explorations, as Anvita said before. So concerning the different aspects of the dance, so I think we already mentioned that previously, but I will let Anvita introduce more about that.
So the first part was splitting into, as Messaline mentioned, mind, body and soul. So when it comes to the mind, so if you notice in the song, the first part was where there was vocals in the English, the translation of the shloka in English, and the piano music. So the idea was that we were translating every word to a gesture, which is basically also the aim of the serendipity is not to go totally into Kathak or contemporary and create an integrated range of movements. So for example, we did for us Yato Hasta, where the hand goes, there goes the sight, where the sight is, and then when we come down, where the sight is, there lies the mind. Where the mind fixes, inner feeling is expressed. So it is a different gesture, but it still denotes, it was mind is deciding what we want to emote. We are creating a new set of movements here. And then when the piano music starts, if you see when we were doing this, and then there was a sequence, we both were sitting, we were doing the same movement, but our expression of the body and the face was different. So the idea was we were trying to evoke two different kind of rasas or bhava. For me it was more beauty or softness or love. For her it was more fear. And so with the fear, if we talk in terms of body, if we talk in terms of Kathak, let's say, we bring the face expressions, but in contemporary we have to also bring express bodily. So for her, fear was contraction from the body, and like a lot of different nuances. And for the other rasa which I was depicting, it was more softer, more lifting, more growing. So in the first part, that's how we thought about it, and that's how we went. Then the next part where we took the music, basically we took a lehra, and then I did some bowls over there, and I did the shloka in Hindi. I basically embodied or put the shloka on rhythm, and that's where we bring now the next part, which is the body. So basically mind is now bringing more body into action, and then there you see more movements, and which Messaline will explain.
I mean, it's more or less what we said before. It's just because first we had mental, like we tried to do it things by mental process, but then we saw that, for instance, like bringing the hand is bringing the body, like bringing, like having an emotion or a rasa, you have like something, a reaction in the body. So it was more about trying to get those reactions of the body to what we created before. So it was just a step forward.
And yes, like in the body, again, we basically, instead of try to use different aspects of the body or the different limbs. So in the Kathak part, again, it was the same, yato hasta, tato drishti, yato, we use the different aspect, tato manaha. Manaha, we did it like that, not the classical Kathak way, but more, and bhava. Bhava is coming from heart, but here we showed the heart like this. This is a technique which is used in Afro-Brazilian. So it is basically from heart, and the heart is growing, and it is expressing. So And then what was it? And then the last part was the soul. And in the soul, we basically tried to do some body percussion, because the idea was that it is a way, rhythm in any dance form is a way to stimulate the soul. You know, the vibrations, it brings you alive. So when the mind, body are synergized, then the soul is activating. And we thought having the body percussion from this to the foot would be a way to that your whole body is active. You are dancing, and it is something spiritual.
So you can go to the next slide. So now about the aspects of, you understood everything is going around the shloka. The shloka is the center of the creation, but around that, as we are coming from two different backgrounds, we try to show those different backgrounds. We try to explore new forms. So as Anvita said, we had a song which is more contemporary, or more from the Western culture, and rhythms and the voice to play around and to also show different atmospheres in the very same creation. Then, as mentioned previously, we use certain vocabulary from Kathak, like change, agree, and contemporary also in the aspect just to open, maybe having more the floaty thing and just feeling the body. Afro-Brazilian also because they have some, like in the technique I study, which is coming from Afro-Brazilian, but it's modern, you have a lot of symbology. So we try to use also that from there to try to like present different aspects of symbology, because that was one part of the creation. Then, as mentioned, body percussion, like we try to play around. It was because first we presented this performance in a gallery. So it was a way also to interact with the public, because, I mean, as Anvita said, percussion and vibration is something to gather and to collect. And even if you are not a dancer or a musician, you can relate to that. So I think it's like a more universal vocabulary. So that was something also to share with the audience. And then theater gestures, because I mean, there is a vocabulary from Kathak, there is a vocabulary from Contemporary, but then you can create like a lot of things just by trying to think about everyday gesture, and you have that in Kathak, really like it's really important thing of it. So we decided to explore that, and then to go a bit further, also to explore the dance theater more contemporary and the dance theater which was more traditional. So that's it.
Yeah, and one last thing. So having the two different kinds of music was also intentional, because piano music is elevating, uplifting. It's soft, you know. It grows you. Whereas you know, it's like, yeah, you are high in spirit. Whereas a rhythmic music, it is grounded. It is more connected to earth. So the idea was to create two different kind of atmosphere for this shlok, and yes, it was an experiment, and I hope you liked it. We would love to have your feedback, but before that, we would like to do a small exercise. Yeah, the idea of the exercise is to show, like, just to demonstrate how basically our creative process, and also how to, let's say, evoke a bhava or rasa in somebody, or let's say the transfer of the energy. So we can.
So you can experience like the shloka. I would like to ask, or we would like to ask, if someone wants to come and try on stage. I mean, the idea is, it's like nothing really big, it's just to explore. Come on.
Dance theater. So one person is deciding what emotion he wants to provoke, or she wants to provoke to the other person. The person will react like on the moment, not thinking about the move you want to do, it's just reacting. Something. So here you have the touch. So like it's like I feel kind of like an attack or something like that, and there is something happening in my body. So I will react to avoid. So if the first move was that, that's what would be maybe that. But then you can grow, and you can grow, and you can grow, and you can come to another bigger move. The idea is that like you can provoke things, but normally it's coming from natural. You can another one. So for instance, if I do that, you will move, but but what would you do in a normal situation if you're not on stage? Don't. No, my reflexes are very Okay, so you had that. Okay? So then you can go. Then maybe it can brings you somewhere. The idea is like you can create always emotion. So you try to focus on the sensation you feel. There is like something here. And then maybe it's bringing you somewhere else. Right? So try to center into the sensation. So what happened? Yeah. So try bigger. 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 Yeah. Bigger. Bigger. So you have something already. It's creating a movement. You have emotion. Then you can explore that. It's more about exploring like what is the basic. It can be always bring something else, and every single person has an organic move. So the way I will react is not the way you will react, but it's giving you a scope of generating movement. So thank you.
I think the non-dance
Next time I do a surprise. So touch is okay?
Fine.
Okay. Try to repeat it for you. What did you alone? But to try to recenter on what you experience.
Can I also talk?
You can talk. You can just experience and feel.
First was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I was like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was
Okay.
on you.
So now you're conscious. Try to feel it and to create a move of it. Is it? Yeah. Good. Keep going. Come on. Retry it. So what was the whoa? And then good. Could you do it bigger? Good. Bigger. Good. Little bigger?
Gonna try. I'm not a dancer, so I'm going to keep it.
Good. So it was just to explore more. And now we'll just show you a second exercise. It's just pretty quickly, and it's just to also explore more options. And it's just like to have something more like experience. So you can go. You can just feel the touch. Where is the touch? So you can go toward the touch or against the touch, and this is provoking things naturally. It's to expand the vocabulary, as we tried also in the choreography. We're doing that. It didn't come that like from the beginning, just because we felt then like there was a push. So it's just to explore more like things.
And the idea is not to have the body in a 2D frame, because I mean, yes, as classical dancers we are really taught to hold the body, but while working with her, I had to unlearn so many things, because you forget to be also natural sometimes, and contemporary is just the opposite of classical dance. It's just about letting go, and that's how, and they the way, maybe they don't have that much of facial expression, but the way they express is through their bodies.
Yeah, so here Sharmila will be presenting health in Indian dance, which is very important to know about. Sharmila was born in Switzerland and grew up in a family of artists. She completed her stage debut at the Arangetram at the age of 12 and has been performing ever since. She's been giving dance lessons since she was 18 years old, which started at her parents' dance school, Guru Vijaya Rao, school named Nateshwara, where she gained a lot of experience. Meanwhile, she has almost 30 years of experience in this art. Because of her origin and growing up in two different cultures, she has a multicultural approach in both performing and teaching dance. Dancing a traditional art like Bharatanatyam with fresh ideas and without reducing its quality, that's her passion. In addition to her dance profession, she completed her master's in Indian Studies and Pedagogy. 3 years ago, she completed her doctoral thesis. At the moment, she's completing a degree in physiopedagogy at the Academy of Spiral Dynamic in Zurich. And it's very interesting that she's bringing all these concepts that she has from different cultures into our Bharatanatyam dance, Indian dance.
So, please, Patiji.
So would it be Indian dance or Bharatanatyam?
Yeah, first it was Bharatanatyam, and then I thought of all my my fellow dancers who are not in Bharatanatyam and who might also want to have some insights.
Yes.
No, of course.
Yes.
Nevertheless, I come from the Bharatanatyam side, especially when it is about leg axis and all of these things. I guess from the upper body, all these things can be adapted to Kathak as well. But let's see how much. I don't want to torture you, and I know it's late, and so I'll try to bring it really to the essence of what I want to convey as a message today. So let me feel important and take my notes. So namaskaram to all of you, my respected colleagues. I'm very happy. I want to thank the Swiss Natya Sabha, who are all very around here and working so hard for this really great opportunity, because I think it's so important to connect, to share knowledge for the most important, and share our experience. I think that is just something that we do too seldom. So I decided to use my time on stage today, not in performance, but with a small lecture. The demonstration is the smaller part, the smaller lecture, on health in Indian dance in general, Bharatanatyam specifically. Gayatri, can you be my slide master? Thank you. So as some of you may know, health and dance have always been a very important part in my work. That is partly due to my personal journey as a dancer, which has led me through much pain and therapy. And partly is also due to our commonly shared Indian culture, where health and well-being is a core concept. Of many of the achievements that it has produced, we are rightly very proud of things like Ayurveda and yoga, to name just the two most famous among them. In dance, I've been taught ever since I was a child, it is no different. Gayatri? Oh, Rinza, okay. And as has been already pointed out in many of today's presentations, spirituality and dance are closely interwoven. But what about our physical body? What about this part of our well-being? In my presentation today, I would like to shed some light on this part of our health, which should in no way be subordinated to our spiritual well-being. The difference between both is a very fundamental one, between spiritual and physical well-being. While our spiritual well-being is part of our art and spreads within us through our work, physical well-being is not an inherent part of this art. Thank you. Let me put this very clearly. Dance is not healthy, at least not physically. If it was, it would be called physical gymnastics or something of that sort, and it would look like this. Yay! We all know it does not. So now comes it. What differentiates art from mere athleticism is the aesthetic that comes with it. Dance can never be entirely healthy because there are other predominant factors that define it. Elegance, grace, music, emotion, shape, expression. Just name a few of them. There are hundreds more, I guess. So I could stop here and it would be the shortest presentation on health in Indian dance ever held. No, of course not. I purposely made a rather provocative statement before. Slide. Of course, dance can be healthy. And in this small syntactic change in the sentence lies the big matter of my message, which I would like to convey today. I would like to show you what I think, ideally, let's say in a few years from now, should be an indisputable part of every Indian dance class on this globe. Slide. I call this physical formation or Körperbildung. In schools of other classical dance styles, this is an inherent part of their training since ages, so this is nothing new or revolutionary. Some of the aspects that I mentioned here might seem like a natural thing to many of you. Therefore, don't get me wrong. The problem in Indian dance is not the lack of knowledge. The problem is the lack of explicit teaching. So what is this all about? The body of a dancer must meet certain requirements in order to practice Indian dance apart from dance-specific skills. These are, slide, strength. Dance is a high-performance sport and requires stamina. Okay. Second, breathing. Correct breathing is a basic requirement in dance and increases performance. Third, posture. A correct posture in dance is based on a healthy back posture, mobile hip joint, and a perfect balance. Four, coordination. A good coordination ability makes movements appear fluid and effortless. Five, flexibility. The freedom of dance movement is based on body mobility, which has to be maintained on an ongoing basis. So the dancer needs to know all these physical forming aspects right from the start. Wow. Aspects right from the start, and they need to be integrated in each training. Again, this is not yet about dance postures or dance technique basics, no. Rather, it is about the basis on which the body and the consciousness depend in order to move healthy in dance. So this physical Mama, she's so curious to know. The physical formation must be built in, trained and repeated from the beginning in each individual training, each dance training, and even in advanced dances. And you all, my respected colleagues, should regularly train all aspects of physical formation all the time. Because these basics can decide whether you just move or whether you dance. Today, let me briefly touch the first three of these five aspects to show you what exactly I mean. My two students, they're so shy. My two students, Domenica and Niti, are kind enough to stand model. So you have a visible example to understand what I'm talking about. And please feel free to get up and try a few exercises with them to understand better what it is all about. So let's start with step. So it is, I'll shorten this a little bit to get to the really interesting part. Of course, we are all aware we need endurance in strength. An important note here, which is very dear to my heart. The practice of dance steps in dance training is not enough to develop the strength that dancing requires. Everyone has different physical requirements depending on your BMI, on your fitness level, and your physical limitations. The dancer must decide how much and which preparatory strengthening training must be incorporated additionally to her dance training. Okay. So, to start with, we should choose a moderate sport for our dance training, which is gentle on the joints. I don't know about Kathak, but Bharatanatyam puts a lot of stress on the leg joints. So even if you consider yourselves to be physically fit, you need to do additional sporting activities with moderation and expand them step by step to find out what really fits you and what suits you. So dance is a whole body workout. We all know that. There is no limb that is used unilaterally or only partially. So when it comes to strength training, this has to be considered. It is, now I need my student, Domenica. So, we need to divide our body into movement units. So we don't train singular muscles. That makes no sense for dance. In dance, when we move ourselves, it is always an entire unit that moves. Okay. So for example, something you can all relate to. Here, she has her upper arms working. In this position, her biceps is pulling. If she opens her arms, it's her triceps which is pulling and the biceps which is getting long. Again, going back. The triceps has to relax and get long, and the biceps has to pull. So this makes is just one visible example how we should also train our strength. So you choose strengthening exercises which focus exactly on these movement units which you use afterwards in dance. I'm so sorry. Now, something very important which has been disputed in the literature a lot is muscular flexibility. We, as dancers, we like to stretch our limbs. I don't know about you, but all my students and my colleagues I have danced with, they used to stretch a lot before training, after training. And I mean, the pros and cons of stretching can be studied in detail on the internet or in literature. But this much is clear. Anyone who has ever had tense muscles in the neck knows that permanently tense muscles can become really painful. Therefore, we should train both tension, strength, and relaxation with muscles. So we train ourselves holistically. However, relaxation doesn't necessarily mean stretching, although it can also create a lengthening in the muscle. The lengthening is also a letting go, and letting go can also be produced with using force. It's called eccentric tension. So therefore, we should never do only one thing, only stretching, only relaxing through, I don't know, massage, but also use the other possibilities that there are to lengthening a muscle. I will show it with Domenica. We go back to her biceps and triceps. So we all know a very typical stretching movement for the triceps, which is this one. Yeah, this one I learned even in school, in sports lesson. Now this lengthens her triceps very nicely. I can also lengthen her triceps in pushing against it, and she has to use force to stretch it this way. I'm strong. So what I'm doing is she wants to lengthen her triceps by folding her arm. This makes this muscle long, and I push against it, and she has to use force. So I don't know if you have somebody next to you whom you can touch whether this is corona safe, but you can try it once, otherwise also at home. This is also a lengthening of the muscle, and then of course this, which all of you might like very much.
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot about the slides. Back. So far I've just talked about muscle strength, but there are also different aspects of what strength a muscle can have. Some of you might be aware of that. A bodybuilder has very fast strength. He can lift a lot of weight, but he cannot run a marathon. A marathon runner can run very long. He has energy for a long distance, but he cannot lift heavy weights. A dancer needs to have both. Yippee! So we need to train both. So just going to the gym and doing your push-ups is just half of your thing. You need to do also the endurance training, which I added in the beginning. Okay, let's go to breathing. It sounds very clear, of course, for all of you, but breathing is one of the fundamentals on which the body and consciousness depend in order to be able to dance, because breathing helps the dancer not only to dance in a technical correct manner, but also to be energetic and expressive. Okay. Dancing covers practically all aspects of fitness and is comparable to any other high performance sports. And correct breathing is therefore the linchpin for efficient and economical energy consumption. So in dance, generally it's recommended to increase your aerobic capacity. That means the energy that supplies you with oxygen, through oxygen. So the dancer can dance over long distance with a moderate heart rate. Like we saw Pranita and Kritika, this kind of Varanam. You cannot dance it if you have a BP of 200. It's just impossible. So you need to get your heart rate down, and that is partly done by having a good breathing technique. So breathing should really ventilate the entire volume of the upper body. And this can be made aware with very simple exercises. And I'll just show you with all my students. You can just check whether you can see how they are breathing. So I told them before we came up the stage how they should breathe, and they're both breathing wrong. Let's see whether you guess. So you can see Niti is very quick in her breathing. Domenica is just in the chest. Now if we have a picture of the lungs, then we know that the lungs, they go down quite a bit, and then there's the diaphragm, which actually can be lowered even more, so that the lungs actually, when they're filled with air, they almost expand in our whole upper body. So now try to one way we can train this with us or our students is to hold the hands to the side of your ribcage and try to push your hands to the side through your breathing. You can see with them, it is very clearly visible how they push their hands outside. Now you add the belly to that, and you have a much fuller breathing of the entire system. This is just an awareness exercise, but the awareness comes first, as we know. Once we start initiating this awareness before each training, our muscles have a memory, and they will start function in this way. Thank you so much. They're so cute, huh? So once you have understood the criteria for good breathing in dance, there are no limits to the ideas that you can develop. I've experienced the increase of my performance through more efficient breathing, so I really highly recommend it to everybody. We are almost through. So posture. Thank you. Yes, physical formation should strive for a stable and healthy posture in Indian dance. So we have slide, pranam, elongation of the upper body, slide, alignment of the leg axis and slide, balance. So, a dancer obviously needs to know how to build a correct and healthy upper body posture, aligned leg position, and you have to gradually build up also a basic balance to use afterwards in your dance steps. So, probably there are dancers who are convinced that training in dance automatically brings the body into correct posture. Unfortunately, as I know from my own teaching experience, this is not the case. Slide. Because an untrained body always chooses the path of least resistance. Muscles that are already strong and tense, they tense even more in order to relieve the muscles which are overwhelmed and untrained. So this leads to compensating poses and thus to pain. And this has nothing to do with flexibility. Slide. Oh, no, the other. Back. This brings me to something that is really important, because if you teach dance, you very often have very agile girls in your dance classes. And due to their great flexibility, the body does not slow them down, even if they tense certain muscles too much or force certain joints to move. The physical tolerance range of such girls is so wide that as a teacher you can easily overlook the fact that you have to intervene. The mobility of these girls turns out to be a hidden enemy, because it may well be that they are able to move and dance for years, for example in an overstretched position, without ever getting physical discomfort. But their whole posture is unhealthy, period. So, something that is really important here is how we talk about our body alignment, whether it is with dance colleagues or with students. So in German it's even more clear. In English, I don't teach so much in English, but what will you hear? Maybe stretch your body or make an, I don't know. In German you say gerade Rücken. Gerade is straight. So okay, let's look at the back. The back is not straight. It's not a linear thing. It has a shape. It has a curve, an S curve, which has its use. It supports our upper body in a way that it needs to have this curve. So the point is, you don't use these words because you just get an absolutely wrong image of what you should be doing. I'll show it to you to make it more clear. Neti, Domenica. So they will stand now in profile. So sieht er, genau. Okay, Bharatanatyam. And now I tell them, Streckketten. Gives me chills. So what Neti does, she puts her chest out. That. Domenica gives me even the chin. That is very kind of you, but we have that very often. And the elbows, of course, nicely behind, like a chicken. And then here, I don't know, maybe there you can't see it, but I have it here also in the picture. I'm way too far bent back. So stretch or stand upright or whatever you think or say is just not what we need. Get up? So we call it elongation. The back has a curve, but it is a very flexible structure. We have the tissues in between, so it can get longer. Elongation is the word that we need here. And that is also the posture that we need in dance. It is nothing else. Therefore, dance is healthy, but you need to be aware of this. So, I tell Neti, go into Ardhamandi. And now, think yourself from the belly button up. You think yourself tall. So I don't get this curve here. I don't get the chest out. I give her a very simple tip. I just told her an image to get from the belly button to make her upper body long. I tried with Domenica. I'll give her a different image. I'll tell her, think that your back here is heavy and pulls you to the ground, while your head wants to go up to the ceiling. Et voila. I don't have her chicken elbows. I don't have this curve. I have a beautiful position for Bharatanatyam, which I can work with. I don't have her chin coming in front, and I didn't have to touch her or pull or push anywhere. And she's able to understand through my image that I give her what she has to do. Thank you. I will skip this part, but the pictures will speak for themselves. It's the same with our legs. I don't know, maybe in Kathak you can adapt it for your use. There are very simple symptoms how you can see that something is going right or wrong with just knowing something that is very easy to understand. The evolution has made our foot in such a way that the reason that we are able to walk upright is that the foot is a really very intelligent construction. It has a longitudinal and a vertical arch. It has one on each side and two in front and back. And they are holding us in balance on our feet. And as long as we respect that structure, we have no problem. I cannot respect the structure if I don't look at the leg alignment or the leg axis. So I have to respect the line of the hip joint, the knee, and the foot. Otherwise, I don't respect this, and I get a pain, a student or a dancer with pain. There is another very easy way to check it. When you look at your feet, maybe you need somebody to look at yours and vice versa. You can see the line of the, what is it called in English? The Achillessehne? Huh? Achilles heel. Oh, okay, good. So that has to be straight. Those legs there are my son's legs. And you can see that his are not straight. It's very easy to observe. You don't need to have medical education for that. And this is a very good and easy way to check whether your student or yourself are respecting this kind of structure or not. Respected colleagues, the time is unfortunately too short to delve into this subject in more detail. I could give a presentation on every aspect of body formation and it would still not be all. I hope I was able to explain why this topic should not only be a concern for me or other Indian dancers who are socialized in the West. If our art is to survive and be preserved for another century, then I am convinced that we have to work on its sustainability. Tradition and science must not be opposites, but must complement each other. Just because something has always worked the way it was, doesn't mean it can't get better. We don't have to become scientists ourselves. We just have to approach our art with an open mind and be ready to think out of the box. If you have any questions or you're interested to know good books you could study for this, which we can understand as dancers, don't worry, please let me know. I will be happy to give you a list, happy to help you further. And I thank you very much for your attention, because I know it's really late, but I was very happy that I could finally give this small lecture. Thanks.